Allegiance, usually we do,
Roll
where's
call.
roll call?
Okay.
I'm sure without Rosanna being down there, I totally forgot.
All right, Councilman Tom Dibny.
Here.
Councilman Paul Valentine.
Here.
Councilman Jerry Vittori.
Here.
Councilman Brian Donahue.
Here.
Supervisor Teresa Kenny.
Here, and now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a couple of announcements. First, we just want to announce that they were going to have an unclaimed funds event at Town Hall on Thursday, July 27th from 11:30 to 3. So that's, they're doing it around all the towns, and I'm told that they did it, the towns they did it already, they've actually recovered quite a bit of money. So for those who don't know how to do it online themselves, you can come by and they will help you look into the unclaimed funds held by New York State. We have our regular town board meeting for August 8th is being canceled. Two of our town councilmen are going to be on vacation. So all things being equal, there's nothing of urgency, so we're going to cancel the meeting for August 8th. We have a public hearing scheduled for August 22nd for zone change for Pearl Plaza, 60 Dutch Hill Road. And then on that note, we have a presentation tonight from PKF O'Connor Davies, our audit results. So why don't you gentlemen take it away?
Thank you. Now it's on. Honorable Supervisor, members of the Town Board, my name is Nicholas DeSantis, and I'm a partner with the firm of PKF O'Connor Davies. And with me this evening is my partner, Rob Danielle, who was the partner that was on site and supervised the audit of your town. This evening, we're presenting to you the financial statements for the town of Orangetown for the year ended December 31st, 2022. You should have two documents, two booklets in front of you. One is spiral bound, and that's actually the comprehensive annual report that probably has been filed with the National Government Financial Officers Association, as well as a PowerPoint presentation, a smaller booklet, which also will be shown on the screen to my left, your right. With that said, what I'd like to do is just turn to the spiral book first and go past the table of contents. And if we could go to page Roman numeral 11, XI, you'll see that the town continues to receive a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting. 62 municipalities in 2021 in the state of New York received this award, and of course the town of Orangetown was one of them. So this is a significant achievement to continue to receive this for the town of Orangetown. It means that your financial statements fully are transparent and are presented in a way that discloses all your financial transactions to the readers of your financial statement, particularly the rating agencies, which assign a rating to your bonds, which in turn results in an interest rate, and of course, with the comprehensive annual report and your good financial condition results in a lower interest rate for your taxpayers in your town. If we go 2 pages past that award page, we'll come to the independent auditor's report. And the first paragraph is our opinion, and it describes what you engaged us to do. You engaged us to audit the financial statements of government activities, business-type activities, the discretely presented component unit, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the town of Orangetown as of and for the year ended December 31st, 2022, and the related notes to the financial statements. The second paragraph says, in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the government activities, the business type activities, and the discretely presented component unit, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the town as of December 31st, 2022. In layman's terms, this is what's referred to as a clean opinion. It's the highest opinion that you can get on your financial statements from a CPA firm. So with that said, what I'd like to do is then now turn to the smaller document that you have. We've extrapolated certain information from it, and we'll share some of your financial results with you as we progress. We'll probably call out page numbers to Allison as we move along, and I think, Allison, we're going to start on page number 6.
Yeah.
Right? Here you go, Rob.
Thanks, Nick. All right, so on page 6 of the slide, this is a summary of your general fund, which is your main operating account. You can see there are 4 columns there. The original budget is what the town board approved back in the winter of 2021. Again, from a high level, $14.5 million of revenues, $15.7 million in expenses. You come down to a deficiency, if you will, of $1.2 million. And what that represents, there are 2 pieces to that $1.2 million. $614,000 are open purchase orders that you're utilizing 2021 budget monies to spend in 22, and $600,000 represents what the town board approved in 2021 to balance the 2022 budget and thus provide a form of property tax relief. Again, if you look across total revenues, you can see that your actual revenues came in $3.2 million better than your final budget. And you also had expenditure savings to just under $1 million, $15.2 million compared to a final budget of $16.2 million. You take your revenues, subtract your expenses, and you come down to revenues that exceeded expenditures, excuse me, by a little over $3 million. You're able to add that to your opening fund balance of $13.5 million. You end the year at $16.5 million, and we'll discuss that breakdown in a minute. Again, if you look at the net change in fund balance, you can see that you anticipated using $1.2 million of your own monies, and you actually generated a surplus or a profit, if you will. So from a budgetary standpoint, you had a budget surplus of $4.2 million, all the way to the right there. The bottom, next page, page 7. These are your revenues and how you fared compared to your final budget. I just pulled out a few here. If we look at the third item down, you see non-property taxes. Really, in that area, in that section is your sales tax. Your sales tax exceeded your final budget by $571,000, a budget of $1.9 million. Actuals came in at $2.47 million. The area of use of money and property, which are your interest earnings. Obviously, interest rates were climbing in 22. That generated just under $100,000 that you didn't anticipate. Your state aid. In the state aid caption is your mortgage tax. Your mortgage tax exceeded your final budget by over $250,000. But also included in there is $1 million that the town applied for and received from New York State for the Citizens Empowerment Tax Credit, resulting from absorbing the activities of the dissolved village of South Nyack. The town also applied for a New York State Dormitory Authority grant for a playground of $550,000, and that's also included in that state aid caption. If you look down, second line from the bottom, federal aid, the town did receive and utilize and lost revenues almost $2 million in the coronavirus local physical recovery monies that were received in 21 and 22. Quickly on page 8, the expenditures, you can see you also had savings, as I mentioned before, in all categories. You can see all the way to the right there, just under $1 million, most notably in the area of general government support, which is all your town functions, town attorney, your salaries are in there, so there was savings to the tune of almost $520,000. You also had savings in your employee benefits in the area of medical and dental insurance of a little over $226,000. Page 9.
Before we go to page 9, I just wanted to mention one thing, and we had discussed this with your finance director, Jeff, that in general government support, the college chargebacks, the amount that the town was billed was $327,721, and election chargebacks were $102,435. So pretty close to $500,000 chargebacks from the county for college chargebacks and election chargebacks.
If we turn to page 9. I just wanted to give some history here, but if we focus on the 2022 column, you can see that before I mentioned, you ended the year with a fund balance of $16.5 million. That's broken down into a couple of captions here. The top here, non-spendable fund balance, there's two components there. Prepaid expenditures, you prepaid a New York State retirement bill and some insurance bills. That just means the cash went out the door. You haven't recognized the expenditure. That'll be recognized currently in 23 and will be taken from that bucket. The line that's called advances, $4.1 million. The town did advance monies to the golf courses to the tune of $6 million. The town board did pass a resolution and is paying back that money, but that money is set aside for that purpose. And we'll talk about the current year activity. And then you're assigned, there's two pieces here, $110,000 are again open purchase orders. Like these are going to automatically roll and amend the 23 budget. And more importantly, you're utilizing $800,000 to balance the current budget year in the 2023 budget, and again, providing a form of property tax relief. Again, so the general fund, your unassigned fund balance went from $7.5 million to $11.2 million. So general fund is very healthy fund balance. If we turn to page 11, you do operate a town outside villages fund for the police and what we call other. You can see here also the top revenues came in $657,000 better than your final budget, mostly in the area of departmental income, which includes your police fees. They more than doubled from the prior year. Once again, you had interest earnings, use of money and property. Interest rates rose dramatically, so that generated $127,000 that you didn't anticipate. And you also had federal aid, some FEMA for disaster money that came in during the year. And again, we'll discuss the components of fund balance in the next couple of slides. If we turn to page 12, you also have what we call the Other Town Outside Villages Fund. This also operated at a surplus, if you will, had revenues that exceeded expenditures by $400,000, mostly in the area of permits, building permits, planning board fees. They came in $345,000 better than you anticipated. And you also had expenditure savings on the expense side, mostly in the areas there, transportation, home and community service, as well as employee benefits. So the other 10 outside villages also had revenues that exceeded expenditures, and we'll talk about the fund balance on slide 13, if you go to slide 13. Again, these are your town outside villages combined, police and other. If we'll focus on the 22 column, you can see that you're in the aggregate, your fund balance went up about $952,000. This as well has different components, money set aside and what we call non-spendable. For prepaid expenditures, again, insurance bills that were paid in the current year for 2023. You have some money restricted for law enforcement that doubled from last year. You have some open purchase orders to the tune of $301,000. Again, that's going to roll and automatically amend next year's budget. You are utilizing $1.5 million to balance the current budget you're in, the 2023 budget, and that's actually way up from 2021, and we could talk about that. And overall, your fund balance is at $5.4 million. So although it's up compared to the prior year, it's at 6.6% of your 2023 adopted budget.
The unassigned, 2.4.
Yes.
Right, 2.4 left for future years.
And you are, as I mentioned, you are utilizing $1.5 million to balance this budget. So if everything goes according to plan, that could dip into your fund balance. So something to look out for in 2023. Slide 14. Very quickly, the town does operate other funds. You have a sewer fund that did very well. Revenues exceeded expenditures by over $327,000. So you have a fund balance at the bottom there, $2.6 million, of which is $2.4 million is assigned for just sewer purposes. You have a highway fund that didn't do so great. You had expenditures that exceeded revenues by $791,000, although there's a healthy fund balance. The fund still appears to be financially stable, although you are utilizing $400,000 to balance the current budget year in 2023. You have a debt service fund. Again, expenditures did exceed revenues, but you have $1.7 million in fund balance that could be utilized over the next couple of years. You have an active capital projects fund, over 40 active projects. It has a healthy fund balance of $23.9 million, but the town did borrow a large bond to, obviously, for the new town hall building. That all wasn't spent at December 31st, 2022. And then you have a special districts funds. Again, you had revenues that exceeded expenditures by almost $2.5 million, and what that really represented was the monies that came over from the Village of South Nyack that was dissolved. We basically had to do an audit of the village and bring those activities over, merge them into the town, and that's recorded in the Special Districts Fund. If we turn to slide 15, you do operate 2 golf courses. Blue Hill did very well. Although you see revenues were in line with 2021, you had some expenditure savings to the tune of about $475,000. The Blue Hill Golf Course generated a profit, if you will, of $764,000. Because it had a profit, it was able to pay back the general fund. You did pass a resolution to pay back at a minimum $200,000. The fund did pay back $400,000. It doubled it in 2022, so it's gradually paying back the monies it advanced. If we turn to slide 16, you also operate the Broad Acres Golf Course. And again, if you look at the top, revenues were in line with 2021. Expenditures are slightly up, but the golf course did generate a small profit there of $105,000. And it's able to turn around its net position from a negative to a positive $45,000. Slide 17. The town is self-insured for its workers' compensation and general liability on page 17. Actually, if we turn to slide 18 first real quick. These are your workers' comp claims. All the funds are charged for their respective claims wherever they may fall. You can see that operating revenues are in line with 2021. Expenses are way down, and that's based on an actuarial report or study that's done on your claims that are incurred but not reported. But you can see here your income from operations a little over $1 million. So you went from a deficit of 1.5 to you're still at a deficit of 523,000. But the accounting rules are different in these types of funds. You have to record the exposure that's out there, even though you're going to pay it over time. So if we turn back to page 17, if you look at the bottom there where it says claims payable non-current, there's $2.6 million of claims that are going to be paid over time over the next several years. If you back that out of the equation, you're no longer in a deficit. It's just an accounting treatment.
I think if you look at the assets, you see the cash, $2,295,000. That is monies that are dedicated to that fund, and that fund is in a healthy.
If we turn to page 20, actually, again, this is your risk retention fund, which is your liability fund. Again, revenues in line with 2021. Expenditures are slightly down. This fund generated a slight loss of $155,000. But again, although you do see a deficit of $151,000, same situation if we turn back to slide 19, you can see that your long-term claims are over $423,000. So if you back that out of the equation, you would no longer be in a deficit. So the liability fund is also in a pretty good standing.
The last slide.
If we quickly, page 21, just wanted to reaffirm the town got a AA2 bond rating that was reaffirmed by Moody's. You can see that the town has $82 million of outstanding debt. A good chunk of that was issued in 22 for the new town hall. We are required to report those payments to maturity at the bottom there over the next 5 years and then in increments of 5 years. And just wanted to point out that if you look at 2023 principal and interest, about $7.6 million. 2024, $7.2 million. In 2025, $6.3 million. So it's declining, but as you add new debt for the town hall, it'll start picking up as well.
And the last slide, page 22, just a summary of closing points. The town's financial condition remains in good shape. You stayed within the 2% property tax cap. You received a certificate of achievement, which we spoke about earlier, and you maintain your AA2 bond rating. With that said, Honorable Supervisor and Town Board members, any questions? We'd be glad to field.
Questions, anybody?
No, it's good.
No? Very good, thank you.
I just have one question. With our credit rating, seems impeccable. Can we apply for a credit rating increase from our credit agency? How does that work?
Well, whenever you issue new bonds, you're reviewed again for your rating. Periodically, I'm sure the finance director is in touch with the rating agencies to let them know what's happening within the town, economic development, and other various infrastructure projects that are going on. So I think the financial director Jeff can answer that question better than we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to workshop our agenda items. We have, the first is going to be to resume the comprehensive plan hearing. That's number 3 and 4. Number 5 is open the public hearing on the fire prevention code. This is the new section which you talked about. Basically, that would allow for some outdoor fire, I don't want to say pits, but fire structures that our code previously completely banned. We're going to, let's see what else we have here. Okay, again, all on the fire. Okay, that's all the same thing. Who's here from, I think, is anyone here from fire prevention? Or Jane?
You're at 9.
Is she outside? Okay, so number 9, let me move on to that. We're just going to go get it. So number 9, has to do with H&A. I think most people may have heard that H&A, title to the H&A property was transferred to SL Green by court order. It was not voluntary. It was basically ordered over. So SL Green is the new property owner, and they've been in touch with us, and they've gone into the property. They're making arrangements to go in, to secure the property, to clean it up, and are looking at this point in time to work with the town to find an appropriate purchaser. Because we had started the eminent domain proceeding, they had a very short time period if they wanted to challenge it. So they came to us and asked us, in light of them, being the new owners, would we withdraw our findings of fact? So after much discussion with Mike Zarin, our outside attorney, and Rob Magrino, we decided it's the best thing to do. Otherwise we're going to get in protracted litigation with them for maybe no reason at all. So we did agree to withdraw the findings of fact. And as they said, if it should go south and not work out to what we are hoping for, we can always turn back around and start the process again. We don't anticipate that. They've been very cooperative, very much in touch with us. So we're hoping we're in the final stretch with the H&A saga. Rob, you have anything to add to that, or?
Just that they have indicated a willingness to work with the town's preferred developer as well, so
Yeah, so,
that was important.
okay, so that's number 9. Number 10 is the budget calendar. I just feel like we just finished it, but we're starting over again. Number 11, changing the police commission meeting that was normally August 8th. We are moving that to August 22nd, and it's going to be their budget presentations, the police department's budget presentations. That same night, we're going to be having Department of Environmental Management and Engineering's budget presentation. Again, that's August 22nd. And then on September 6th, we're going to have all the other town departments make their budget presentations to the town board. So that's the budget cake. And then on number 14, we have the districts. So all the fire districts and Rockland paramedics, everybody, they come in and they present their budgets to us too. So that's again on September 12th. So that's basically the whole budget history there. Number 15, we have certificate of sewer registration. Number 16th, we are accepting with regret the retirement of Marian Selmy. She's been a very helpful person in the police department. It's going to be retiring July 29th. Number 17, appointing Suzanne Delapizzi to a position in the police department, effective July 31st. That's basically going to be taking over for Mary's position. Number 18, they alluded to it, the PKF O'Connor Davies, one of the things they had to do because of the South Nyack takeover, they ended up having to do a lot more work, basically with the Village of South Nyack's budgets and getting everything in line with us. So they had, come and had negotiated an additional cost of $25,000. It will be paid out of the legacy cost, which is the South Nyack funds that were put aside. But it seemed fair. They did a lot of work, a lot more work than they had originally anticipated. So that's based upon discussions with Jeff and with Rob Magrino. So number 19, adopt the current base percentages and adjusted base proportions. We do this every year. I did speak with Brian Kenny. He said this is beneficial again this year to the residences, so it's something we have to do every year. Number 20, this is what the Department of Environmental, they want to apply for a grant, so this is us basically, they can apply for an EFC improvement grant. So we have to authorize them to do it. So that's there, and then we have the audit. So let's see, let's go to, what do you want to do? Want to do do the public comment before the public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, then can I get a motion to open the public portion?
Motion to open the public portion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, this is the public comment. Okay, so the first person we have is SK Sharon Bailey. This is the public, this is the public comment, general public comment, right?
I know I'm getting old and hard of hearing, but I'm having a hard time hearing what anybody up there is saying.
Yeah, this,
It's,
I don't know if there's something wrong with your microphone.
we
well,
usually don't have the meetings here, but we have water problems.
Well, normally I'm at home watching and I'm hearing the volume.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
usually we're in the other room, but
I mean, I'll try and
we
speak
had to
louder,
move the
but
meeting at the last minute to this
I think it's on.
building, so that's may account for some of that.
We'll try to speak louder.
Yeah.
too.
Okay. I'm S.K. Bailey from South Boulevard, and I'm in the Nyack Heights section of the Village of South Nyack. And good evening to each of you, Supervisor Kenny, and each member of the board. In this open session, I want to raise an ancillary matter on which I request amplification prior to the public hearing regarding amending Chapter 15 of the Town Code. In the past 3 years, I have attended, either personally or through the internet, every town board meeting. Prior to the July 11 meeting, I do not recall any mention of amending this law. To my knowledge, there was never a groundswell of residents appearing at any board meeting demanding a change in the law. I'm also completely unaware of any public safety issues which have in fact arisen as a result of people barbecuing or burning wood in fire pits during this period. I am therefore exceedingly curious as to how this proposed amendment was generated. Was there in fact multiple demands by the public to address this issue? Did members of the board decide this was a pressing issue, or was this generated within the bureaucracy? If the process of arriving at this amendment could be explained before the public hearing, members of the public as well as myself would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan McWhinney?
When amending the town's code, first step is asked, does this law benefit the community? Well, this question has not been asked in regard to RCW's proposed law, but has been demonstrated is that locating a farm water in the midst of this residential neighborhood has been harmful. Yes, remember that it is a town law, not a variance being proposed. This law must work for any eligible property in any Orangetown R40 and RB neighborhood. At least one, if not two, properties eligible to open a winery or cidery under this law are located within roughly 400 yards of the intersection of Shorn and Hobbs. Additional eligible sites are located in the Sparkill, Piermont, and Nyack areas. The Finger Lakes and Long Island have long dealt with the fallout from allowing farm wineries and cideries to open in inappropriate locations. This hasn't gone well, and there's a trail of court actions, not to mention deaths, as a result. I would like to make the following remarks in response to statements appearing to have been directed at myself and my husband during the June 27th town board meeting by RCW's lawyer. One, neither I nor my husband have trespassed on the property adjacent to our homes. As the owners of RCW are well aware, I work for RCW for Silver Rock Stable, an independently owned equestrian facility located on a section of this property. I am not only permitted but required to be on the stable's property at any time, as is my husband. Two, as directed by the town, we have consistently reported what we believe to be illegal activity conducted by RCW from our property. This is a legally permitted activity, and the OPD has informed RCW owners of this fact. Three, the court proceedings referred to are public. Anyone can attend the hearings and order transcripts. Regarding the information addressed by my husband at the June 27th meeting, the same information was disclosed in a letter signed by Darren Benhouse, sent to a combined RCW DHF mailing list and posted to their social media pages on March 15th. On March 16th, I received an extremely hateful email to my professional email address. While I am in violation of the events of October and November of 2022 and the demonstrably false statements made publicly about those who legally oppose the passage of this proposed law, should cast a long shadow of doubt to the board in considering whether this is a law and a business that will benefit our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Goggins?
Good evening. I want to talk about a few things in detail with the proposed law. First of all, in the legislative intent section, I note that it avoids any reference to the establishment of bars, including outdoor bars, and manufacturing facilities in residential neighborhoods. This section mentions agricultural retail sales and cider, but does not mention hard cider or alcohol sales. And with an extension to their license, RCW can sell alcohol manufactured both inside and outside of New York State. Why does the proposed law omit these items? Presumably because it was written by RCW's attorneys in what appears to be an attempt to favor RCW. Secondly, the definition of farm cideries and farm wineries is incomplete and misleading. Board members are respectfully advised to download the laws relating to these licenses from the SLA website and to call the SLA directly to discuss the characteristics of these licenses. Board members can also confirm our understanding that no other cidery manufacturing facilities in New York State are located in residential neighborhoods. Why are these definitions incomplete? I believe because this document was written by RCW's attorneys in what appears to be an attempt to favor RCW. Both licenses previously mentioned are manufacturing licenses. Off-site and on-site privileges are additional privileges that come with these licenses. The proposed law does not address in any substantial way the primary character of a manufacturing facility: safety guidelines, transportation of inventory in and out of the state, lighting and noise, and hours of operation in relation to manufacturing. These things are not addressed. Why are these factors omitted? Because this document was, to my understanding, written by RCW attorneys in what appears to be an attempt to write a law totally in favor of RCW. Hours of operation. The SLA website states that Rockland County laws supersede town laws in this regard. Rockland County laws state that liquor service can continue until 4 a.m. on most days of the week, and retail sales can continue until midnight on most days of the week. There is no mention of this in the document, although the board has, to their credit, tried to put limitations on this, assuming that you were involved in that part of the document. I doubt that those limitations are legally enforceable. Why is none of this mentioned in the document? It appears to me to be because this was written by RCW's attorneys in a blatant attempt to favor RCW. No mention is made of the fact that many operations will be outdoors. I'm going to have to stop here. I have more points. I'll come back to our next meeting to talk about some more, but thank you very much.
Thank you. That's the last person that signed up. Is there anybody else who wants to sign again? This is in the general public comment, not the public hearings. Eileen.
Good evening, members of the board. I'd like to thank you for all the efforts you did to keep H&A in the hands of Orangetown. This is a very, very worrisome issue that's coming about in the past couple of days. I understand that Revell now has definitely pulled out, and they're no longer an entity. And I hope that in the new comp plan that we keep the zoning very, very tight, because everywhere you go today, throughout Orangetown, Old Japan, multiple MFRs of all they want to build. If you go near Old Japan, where Food Town used to be, it's horrendous. But anyway, it's a little worrisome, but we'll keep watching, and hopefully it will be a positive effect on the town of Orangetown. It not only affects Palisadians, it affects the entire town, the future of that piece of property. Let's see. I think the other issues are all public hearing. The fire is a public hearing. And what else? And I guess I'll wait until then. I'm just thinking about the map, the large map in the other room. I hope we're able to save it, big National Geographic map.
Hopefully it's not underwater.
All right, I'll be back again. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else who wants to speak at the public portion part of the meeting? Okay, can I get a motion to close?
Motion to close the public portion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Jane, I was going to have you come up, questions about the fire, the amendment to the fire code. I'll just real briefly, my understanding is, and you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, but our code, as it was written, didn't allow for outdoor fireplaces, outdoor fire pizza ovens, whatever, and a lot of people were doing them, and it was, people were complaining because they were being told it was illegal, and there was just, could not legally do it. So
Right.
we had a discussion about making it legal, but safely. So that's kind of how this came about, and then maybe you could fill in some of the blanks on that.
That's exactly correct. Obviously, all the home stores, they sell fire pits and chimneys and things like that. In our code, the way it is now, you can only have a fire pit type thing if you cook on it. It has to be something used for cooking, and that obviously doesn't necessarily make sense. So, especially when we were doing the rush of title searches, almost everyone had one of these built-in fire pits in their backyard. So we were coming up with ways to try to have them legalize it with putting grill tops on it and stuff like that to get it through. And both Dave and I said, this is just ridiculous. Like, why is not permitted if we have the regulations so that it's safe and we don't have to worry about someone, hopefully burning their house down. If we set the regulations, then everyone knows where they can be in your yard and then it's safe.
Right.
And
And
that's
just so I'm
basically
clear, for the public who doesn't know, Dave is the fire inspector. So you worked on it with Dave in the town attorney's office and your office?
Denise, yep. Mhm.
Okay,
They went through a couple of renditions, and I think what we've came up with is pretty good.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Okay, anybody else want to say anything before we go into the, open the public hearing on that? Okay, so we're going to move to number 3. We're going to resume the public hearing on the draft comprehensive plan. Can I get a motion to open?
Moved.
Tom Divany, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, do you want to let people speak before we, I don't think anyone signed up, but we can ask, before you guys do your amendments, whatever?
Might as well get them out there.
Okay, is there anybody here that would like to speak on the comprehensive plan? I'm sorry, I don't know your name, the gentleman with the hand up. Oh, no, I'm sorry, there's, okay, that's fine, you can come up first and,
Whoever wants to
Whoever
go.
Yeah.
wants to come up, one at a time.
yeah. Just again, just if you don't mind saying your name.
And where you're from.
Marion Gavioli, 14 Warren, Officer, Ballard Lane. I've been a resident of the town of Orangetown for 43 years, okay? Very proud of it, very happy to be in the town, and that's why I've been coming to the meetings for I don't know how many months now on this, and have followed the progression comments on the plan. And as I said last time, I appreciated the fact that proposed modifications were posted separately, although now if you click on to update, the whole plan comes up, not these, because I guess they weren't voted on. I would support the modifications by the council people, and I'm assuming, I'm trying to understand the logistics of what's going to happen tonight, that I guess the proposed changes will be discussed and either incorporated or not incorporated into the final document, and then we'll know what the final document looks like,
Yeah.
I guess. Okay. All right, so I just wanted to support changes that were posted,
Yeah.
okay?
That makes sense.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing tonight.
Correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
You got in the back first. Who's next, Wayne? Then you.
Thank you. Hello there, Ray Fusco, Iroquois Avenue. I think I have several questions similar to the previous speaker around process and what's going to be happening. I noticed that some of the language that was struck and some of the considerations that were made by the town board, was curious if there's going to be alternative language, or are we going to just strike whole paragraphs? Was curious about that process. A few specific things that were struck that I was kind of curious about. On page 145, there was a strike of a summary paragraph of the Pearl River TOD study. It's pretty typical for a factual statement about a TOD study or any other study in previous years to be included in a comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plans are a body of work, and they also mention many other plans that have been done in the region, in the area, to help inform what the comprehensive plan is doing. So striking a factual statement seems tricky since it was just held in 2018. There was some language that was struck on several pages throughout the document. It primarily revolves around promoting a diversity of housing options and in the right neighborhoods and things, which I'm a little bit curious about, because the earlier part of that statement talks about making sure that the town and the community neighborhood characters are maintained and there's a balance, and if and when there is any growth, we're still preserving the history, open space, and the hamlet center character. So it seems like it's an incredibly fair and balanced statement without having to strike it. It's part of a planning process, so this will outlive us in our terms here. So we're talking about 10 to 15 years, 20 years that this document will be in place, so it's important to have that kind of language for previous time. And yeah, I guess the last thing would be, there are items within this that will take time and consideration, and it's a process and an iterative process. So it's better to have it in its comprehensiveness than to take it out and to strike it. So I look forward to seeing what happens with the next processes of this
Thank you.
comp plan.
I guess we probably should have started by telling you, Wayne, you can come on up in the meantime. So how we had left it, you could tell from the document that was up there that certain councilmen have proposed certain changes. What we're going to do is to vote on them tonight, go through them and vote on the particular changes. If there's 3 people to vote to take it out or make the change, we will incorporate it in a final document that will again come back to the public for final review and hearing. So until we vote on it, we just, we're looking at the comprehensive plan the way it is so far, and we're going to review the changes tonight. On that note, Wayne.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor and members of the board. First of all, let me congratulate the board in coming a long way from what this master plan originally looked like, which was an absolute and utter disaster. It was the urbanization of the town of Orangetown. It was not the preservation of the town of Orangetown. But for the good work of some of the councilmen on this board, it would have been that disaster, without any sequel, by the way, which would have made it vulnerable for me to litigate this to the high hopes, because the case law is clear. At the earliest point in time, you are to do the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Why? Why is it at the earliest point in time? Why does the Court of Appeals say that? They say that for the simple reason is you should be considering the environmental impact before you start and go ahead writing up a plan. Now, you've tried to remediate a lot of this bad things, as I like to call them. You know, I was town attorney for this town for 12 years under 4 different supervisors. And the last master plan was under my tenure. And I argued the last master plan and zoning code before the Court of Appeals, where the court
Wayne,
found...
I have to stop you because there was one done under Tom Kleiner, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were not the
No,
town
I was not.
supervisor, right?
Oh,
You were
I-
not the town attorney. There was a comp plan done
Okay.
under Tom Kleiner's administration.
Okay.
2000.
So we did go to the Court of Appeals on the one I was involved with, and the Court of Appeals agreed with me that there was a diversity of housing. What I see a lot of the language that some of the councilmen are looking to take out is urbanization, compact urban centers, city-type living. I agree with most of all of those that are seeking to be stricken from this. I agree with all of them, in fact. And I think it will preserve the town as it is. These transitional zones, these zones that you want to, build up to the less dense zones, that is a prescription for disaster. It's a prescription for disaster. It should be the preservation of the existing town as it looks, as it has historically been built, and as the people want it. And I think a lot of these suggestions that have been made should be passed this evening. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak? Eileen?
All right. All right, here we are. We have a comp plan which will take us into perhaps the next 10 years. I, too, have lived in Orangetown since 1971 and involved with the past couple of master plans that we had approved. But I think today's day and age, we have a governor that wants to mandate under their two, as assembly law and there's a state senate law, which actually is, I think it's labeled accessory dwelling units or ADUs. And in her, in the legislation, she says that she wants to direct all municipalities to adopt ADUs. So it's sitting on everybody's desk up there, I think, until January. I know there was a move on that even the Democrats were against it, but they can always tweak things to go along with their progressive movement. My concern is that we've worked very hard on this comp plan, and there can be executive orders or mandates or what have you coming down that can destroy a town or change it. There's also people feel they own private property. They can do whatever they want with their property, that they shouldn't be obligated to conform to local zoning laws. There's a changing mentality out there. And I hope that our master plan or this comp plan will survive challenges, as Wayne spoke about a little while ago. Change is inevitable. You just have to drive anywhere and you see, 6-story buildings and they just get passed through, and hopefully we'll maintain a strong belief that if we do make some changes, that they're conservative, that they don't destroy like 100 acres that we have in Palisades or the Kaufman campgrounds. These large parcels of land that we have to be protected somehow or another. And it's, we're lucky we live in Orangetown. I feel I'm a very lucky person to live here. We have educational facilities, we have a university, we have housing for seniors, we have Dowling and Thorpe Village and Corkwood Village. And as you said before, where is the housing for the young people? I don't know. I'm not young anymore. And I don't see any young people coming forward and saying, we would like this type of housing. I don't want it to be a divisive change. Where do you put these things? I don't know. You've certainly have worked hard on this. Nobody can deny that. You've worked many, many months, perhaps a year, on this. And I hope when our lawyer feels that it cannot be challenged, but the way government is today, everything changes with executive orders, everything changes with mandates, everything changes, and the local municipalities are being challenged. And I guess we just have to be very strong in the way we feel our community has a right to develop. It can't be divisive, it can't be discriminatory, it can't be anything. But anyway, as changes come forward to you, people can make proposals to you, I guess it has to be in uniformity to the neighbors and what the town can absorb for the infrastructure, all the infrastructure, the police, the fire, the sewers, everything else, Nothing is easy, but I hope, this is what I wanted to say, because I have read those two laws, they're both the same, the Senate one and the Assembly one. They're sitting up there, they're going to be reheard again in January, and when the new bills come forward, and I guess they'll tweak them a little bit, but this is what she wants. She wants mandates to all the towns that they have to provide ADUs, which is auxiliary dwelling units, which means that I can put a little shed on my property and have somebody come and live in it. But maybe they would mow the lawn or something for me. But anyway, challenges.
Anybody else? Mike?
Good evening, Supervisor Kenny, members of the town board. Michael Mandel, resident of Pearl River. I'll take a look at the changes that were made, including crossing out total paragraphs. I think it's a great move to make this a comprehensive plan that can work in this town, and I'm proud of it. And just a couple of things. First of all, somebody mentioned about the TOD. That was all based upon surveys taken at meetings that were not just members of Pearl River that lived there. There were people from all over Orangetown and people from outside of Orangetown that put their comments in. And I'm glad to see that was taken out and we start looking like Park Ridge, with a tremendous building that changes the whole character. Just a couple of things. On page 66, you crossed out the new zoning district, mixed use. Up above it, you talk about eliminating and consolidating some of the zoning districts. Consolidate similar commercial zoning districts to streamline provisions, improve readability, facilitate consistent implementation of zoning code, and support economic growth. This is done, it should be done with really with care. Current districts have been in effect for over 20 years or more and have established precedents. New zones could be challenged if deemed aimed at particular groups, etc. So I think it's something that should be, looked at cautiously and brought up. On page 73, you bring about discussion. It's mentioned two things: warehouse distribution center and constrained redevelopment. And in the first paragraph, last sentence, it says, therefore, to reduce need for variances and encourage favorable redevelopment, the dimensional standards in the overlay district should be loosened. I don't think so. I think we should maintain that where it's been enforced because of the area based upon the number of feet or whatever to the roadway. I think it has improved the overall look of 303, and I think we should loosen it. But if we have to do something, it should be on a case-by-case basis without getting rid of the law. Page 173, you say discuss under the first paragraph under use cluster development. And this should be removed. Although it's worked in development, in the case of the first senior housing project by Lake Tapan,
this type of zoning should be really considered on a case-by-case basis. Because otherwise, if you're starting to say, well, if we, consolidate, if we cluster, we may start winding up with 3, 4, 5, 6-story buildings, which we don't want. So I think it should be looked at on a case-by-case basis. In that case, it worked. In other cases, it may not. Page 222, and it was mentioned in other parts of it, but he talks about in the first paragraph, which starts out in 2012, next to the last sentence, green building technologies include but are not limited to adaptive reuse, green roofs, use of renewable energy, energy-efficient appliances, and heating and cooling systems, and can be used in new development sites and retrofitted for existing sites. I think this should be removed. We have New York State already trying to regulate gas stoves, dishwashers, water heaters. By the day, they come up with something new. This is something that would cost homeowners and business owners and could be disastrous for the residents. So that's something, if you want to put it in for new developments, that's fine, and we have new developments that are putting green roofs and in cooling systems that don't use water to conserve water. But something that says retrofitted of existing sites, I think leaves us open to somebody coming in and saying, let's change the stoves, let's change dishwashers, which if you take the water out, instead of washing it once, you'll have to wash things twice. And finally, on page 237, sustainability and climate resiliency, was in one other part, you knocked out this thing, but item 4, in the center of the page, part of it's crossed out. It says encourage the use of green buildings. Number 4, ban the use of gasoline-powered gardening equipment. Now, to remove that could be costly to homeowners. New mowers, new leaf blowers, new trimmers. That's something that we should take a look at, because in another part, we changed where we had originally stated we're going to go to alternative energies. We said if feasible, and we would leave all different resources in. So thank you for your time, but other than that, the changes are great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Anyone else?
Right here.
How could we be missing? Is this from an older version?
Who knows?
Good evening, Madam Supervisor and members of the board. On a personal note, regarding the plan, I would like to see language.
Name and town.
My name is Joseph Peralta. I'm a resident of Pearl River. Personal note, I would like to see language that does encourage investment in infrastructure that promotes a diversity of different mobility, including bicycle paths and transit. And I do say that if the town does wish to encourage young professional families to move to the town, walkable communities is a must. So I feel growth is inevitable. And as many residents of the town wish to preserve open spaces, we should definitely be focusing on places where there has been a history of development, such as the centers and the hamlets. So infill development, I feel, is a smart idea, but of course, where the infrastructure allows it, near transit and other points that have other mobility besides cars. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank
you
you.
for your time.
Did I see another hand? No, there's other people. Okay. Going once, going twice, it's on the comp plan. Okay, I guess. I don't know if we close it or we have to make the motions, right? What do we do? Close the public hearing, then make
Motion
motions?
to
Close it, and then...
public comment?
Okay. Tom made a motion to
To close
close the
public
public comment. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So before we go and we start making the changes, I'm just going to, I've already said it, but I'm just going to say it one last time before we do this. So this draft plan was developed after many in-person outreach sessions. We did online surveys, we had written comments from individuals, board members, committee members in the town. So this plan is not, my plan, not the planner's plan. It was basically the opinions of the people who participated in the process during the time. So Were there conflicting ideas about things? Absolutely. And when there was conflicting ideas, we basically, the planners, we had a comp plan committee that worked on this, and I mean, it was 2 years, so so we know how long we've been working on this. We did our best to basically determine where a majority of the people fell on it and what was, best. We worked collectively through what we thought was best for the town. So this document is not something that was done by me, by the planner, by anyone in particular. It was actually a lot of thought went into this. When it comes to the housing issue, I think it's just worth noting, I think, that most of the people, when you look at the statistics, that strongly favored other types of housing styles and options, they came from our younger residents, 34 years of age and younger. And they were not well represented in the process at all. It was less than 7% of the people were in that responded were in that age category. So our young people, to the extent they participated, are saying that they are in favor of some kind of additional housing styles. I don't understand the fear of multifamily housing. I really don't get it. I mean, it goes from multifamily to high density and urbanization and all this crazy stuff. When this town board has fairly in the couple of years done multifamily. We've done, they did the Dion's Way, which is on North William, which is mixed use with apartments above. Looks beautiful. It's in the downtown area where it should be. You did the Club and the Club West, which again, they fit in nicely. And more recently, we did Gatto Lane. Those are all multifamily projects. They're not high rises, they're not skyscrapers. They look pretty, they're nice rateables, and they're providing more affordable housing than would be, someone buying a single family house. And I just went on just today to look at the median sales price in Orangetown. $630,000 is the median sales house for our house in Orangetown. A one-bedroom, one-bath in Celia Gardens, which everyone knows, Celia Gardens is a very small condo complex, is over $235,000. So when we're talking about affordable, we're just talking about options, smaller housing options for people. They don't need these big houses. So you have, either condos or apartments, and it appropriately placed, appropriate scale and size. It's being done all over the country. We're in a housing crisis in New York and across this country. So Eileen's right. They're coming back. They're not going away. This ADUs, they've tried it two budget seasons now. For the moment now, the governor has turned towards incentives for communities to do it, but it's only a matter of time before that's not going to get the traction they want, and they're going to be back. And those ADUs are a disaster. They're an absolute disaster. That's basically prohibiting towns from stopping a homeowner from having an accessory dwelling unit, whether it's on the property, whether it's a basement apartment. And it was really crazy because they were going beyond that and saying certain building codes didn't even apply. I mean, it was crazy. And fortunately, both parties knew that, and local government was not in favor of this. So we've managed to fend it off, but it's not going to go away. So.
Say one word, Teresa. In Westchester, I believe the state is giving people $125,000 to do an ADU on their property right now.
I don't know about that, but anyway. So, I mean, I just, when it comes to this, I disagree with the characterization of urbanization. Nobody in this town board, I mean, look around. We're conservative. When people talk about overdevelopment, I mean, I have to point out, and, I know board members have dismissed this, my concern, but the population in Orangetown went from 53,000 in 1973 to 48,000, 49,000 in the last census. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. And, the planners looked at it and they said, seniors are not leaving their homes because they have nowhere to go. And again, I don't need a planner to tell me I don't need anything. Our young adults, I have 2 of them, they're leaving, their friends are leaving, and they're not coming back. It's like I said, I just really don't quite understand the fear of this multifamily housing as if it's something so horrible. But anyway, we live in a world where we have democracy, so we're going to vote on it, and if I get outvoted, so be it. I just do want to point out that no matter what gets approved or doesn't get approved tonight, what we change, this comp plan, nothing in this comp plan changes our code. We would have to take further steps. So if there was something down the road, none of our zones changes, no code changes. It would be future steps, future public hearings, future environmental reviews, future comments from our planning board, future from the county planning board before anything would change. So on that note, I will let those who want to make motions to change what's in there to go to town.
No.
You can.
Sure. So I'm not afraid of multifamily housing. I just don't think it belongs in single-family residential neighborhoods. The reason I bought here and moved from Queens is because they took the single-family homes next to me, tore them down, and put up multifamily houses in their place. And one person did it on the block, then a year later, somebody else did it on the block, and before you know it, I couldn't park my car, my kids couldn't play in the street, and the character of my neighborhood changed. So, yes, it's true. We did do some multifamily housing, and it was all pack housing for senior citizens.
Yeah, that's the
It wasn't
problem. Why
throughout
don't,
the areas. It wasn't in residential areas, and what I found, reading the literature, was that the overwhelming majority of the residents wanted to keep the character of Orangetown the way it is. Orangetown should be a goal. It should be a goal for our kids to go out, find their way in life, save their money, and come back here and live. All three of my kids achieved that goal, so I'm very lucky. I'm hoping other people's family can achieve that goal. But Orangetown isn't a right that you get to live here. It's a goal. It should be the premier town in Rockland, and the only way to keep that is to keep it a single-family residential area. So I stand behind the changes that I did, and I approve the changes that Tom did in the plan, and I plan on voting for those changes to be made to the comp plan.
I mean, we've been discussing transit-orient development since Chris Day was supervisor. And one of the big problems I have is that they've done it in Park Ridge, and was thought it would bring, the young kids in there, but the rents there are not affordable. If you look at what they're renting it out for, it's like $25,000, $3,000, $3,500. So they might have sold Park Ridge on that, and Park Ridge, the units, I went on it today, there's so many units available because it's not what they promised. All the kids would come back, but the kids can't afford it. And then Nanuet did the TOD, and they haven't done anything in 3 years because I don't know what the reason is. Maybe there's no one who wants to do the development in a way that the town wants to do it, but the Nanuet TOD has sat there for 3 years after they voted for it. And I haven't seen either Park Ridge or Nanuet do it to my satisfaction where it's going to accomplish what everyone says the goal is to bring back young kids that will be able to live there because it's affordable. And more importantly, I haven't seen the MTA increase the number of the number of stops each day. They're not working with those two municipalities to bring more transit routes, so you still have that problem is there's no really direct access to New York City. It's still the same train schedule. So we have all these ideas, and I argued with Chris about this. The MTA is not going to do what we need them to do to get a TOD, which is to have multiple express lines to the city. So we made the changes, and I think that when I read the surveys, most of the people, or a majority of the people, want to keep the character of their neighbor. They don't want TOD down in, and it's going to be in Pearl River. That's where they're going to put it, TOD housing in Pearl River. A lot of the owners of those buildings have reached out to me, and in no way, shape, or form do they want to even consider it. They own these big buildings right near the train station, and they don't want to do TOD housing. So I think the changes we made are good. And why I crossed out that language about in Pearl River, it said that it's urban. Pearl River's not urban. When did it become urban? It says, so I didn't agree with their analysis. It says uniquely positioned for physical and economic rejuvenation, include a relatively large downtown, a compact urban form. I crossed it out because that's not true. That is inaccurate. When did Pearl River become a urban center? It isn't. It never was. It's a suburb. And I want to keep it that way. So I'm going to vote for the changes tonight.
Someone making a motion? Or if you guys
Well,
got something to say? Okay. No.
I agree with most of the changes. There are a few that were discussed and probably could be moved when it's just a factual statement. I also, after talking with Rob, our town attorney, that if something was to go and it was in the appropriate area, and after public hearings and the public want it, it can go regardless of the change, regardless of what we're doing here. So this is not closing the door on anything if the people of Orangetown want it. So
I just had questions.
this is fine. I also moved up from the city, like most people. Well, I shouldn't say most people. I don't want to talk for everybody. But we came for a better place, and this is the place. And my family is here. My children live here, and I'm happy with the way that the situation is in Orangetown.
You good?
So just I'll add on to that. I'm not totally opposed to TOD. I've spoken extensively to Tom about this. It does and could potentially change the character of our town. However, I am voting for this change. And the comp plan isn't set in stone. The comp plan's just basically a blueprint. So it's not like we can go down the line in a couple of years and decide if we want to change gears on this, we can. So, for now, I support the changes in the comp plan.
I got to do something here. I don't want to say, unless you want to just approve all the,
I got the page list.
well, there's really no changes, it's just a question mark, I don't know.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So there was only a few that were discussions, right? Everything else was, I think there was 3 that I seen, Tom.
Yeah.
Well, do you still want to discuss those?
No, Teresa,
You got your
I got my
explanation, so we're good?
explanation. Yeah, we're
So
good.
then just the deleted items, do you want to make a motion that
Yeah, so, do the motion, to basically strike out whatever's in red, blue, or purple.
Right.
The strikeouts.
All right, so I'll make a motion to adopt I'm going to make a motion to adopt the strikeouts proposed by Councilman Valentine and myself.
I just want to, there's a couple of that have question marks or
Yeah,
discussed. So are you going to leave those, or
The
you
first
want to
question
discuss
mark is
them?
good, okay, the first,
Just the cross-outs, Rob, we're going to
Okay.
adopt. The question marks, the questions have been answered.
And the only other one that I wanted to point out was on page 227.
That's the one Mike Mandel pointed out?
No.
No.
This was regarding LI and LO zoning districts.
yes, I got it, yeah.
Regarding hotel and motel.
We're crossing out M motel.
I didn't know if you wanted to discuss that one. I know that there was a proposal
That's not on
that
must be on
This was
Hudson Valley
That's
Campus,
deleting
I'm
this.
getting the name confused, came in and mentioned that they
I would delete motel.
may be pursuing that, so.
But we can always do that by special permit or a zone change to that one
Permitted,
particular
that's what this is,
property.
I think, isn't that what it's saying?
So it doesn't stop them from
No, it
doing
doesn't
it
stop
on
them,
their
nope.
property.
Nope.
Wait, it's not crossed out now, right? So is,
Yeah,
It's crossed out in the
It
proposal.
is. It's crossed-
Hotel and motel.
Well, it should be, I have the original, so it is crossed.
It was crossed out in the original, I think it should stay
No,
crossed out.
I have the originals.
But I would rather just do that by special permit.
Right.
wait, did you guys cross it out on one of your marks though?
I
It doesn't
did.
look like it, oh, it was blue, okay, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
couldn't tell. Okay, okay,
All right, Rob, thank you.
okay.
And you want to add the one thing about gas-powered gardening equipment?
Well, again, I don't even know what that
Yeah,
is.
that's on 237, number 4.
We don't have that page. Oh, here it is.
237.
Oh, this one.
Page
All right,
237, number 4.
so the changes we're going to vote on are all the crossouts, and we're going to add, we're going to cross out 237 last, number 4, last sentence. That's the one that says you can't use it.
Ban gasoline-powered
Yeah.
gardening equipment.
Rob, do you understand what we're saying? All right. All right, I'll make a
Tom made a
motion to vote on those changes.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
On a roll call.
On a roll call.
Problem is you put them all together, but anyway.
Yeah, we'll put them all,
Yeah, I know. I was going to vote for some and not for others, but go ahead.
I'm voting yes. It was my-
Ayo, she gave me the Italian.
Yes.
Ayo,
Hey.
ayo, ayo.
Councilman Paul Valentine.
Yes.
Councilman Jerry Vitari.
Yes.
Councilman Brian Donahue.
Yes.
Supervisor Teresa Kennedy.
No. Okay,
All right.
so
Do we have
we have to continue the public
public
hearing.
hearing on a
The changes.
date to be,
August 22nd, right?
I mean, they just have to make the changes in is that enough time, Rob?
I think you do September, I agree with Rob. People are away. September 12th.
Okay.
No, we don't have a.
Do we have another public hearing?
On the fire thing.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, so we have to vote, we didn't vote on this, right? We have to vote to continue the public hearing to September 12th, 2023. Is that good? That's a good date?
We just have the presentations for the districts that day.
All right, the 26th.
It's been going on for
What's the matter?
Yeah, but you won't have, but that's a limited statement as opposed
Yeah,
to
it's a
people coming in
5-minute statement as opposed to.
to every department head.
Okay,
26th?
26th.
to September 26th. Okay, can I get a motion on that?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we are now going to open the public hearing on the amendment to the fire prevention code. Can I get a motion to open the public?
I will make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right,
We gotta open the
SK,
public comment.
So we have SK Bailey, if you want to speak.
now that you've,
Oh, she kind of
but
answered.
she
I don't
only,
know.
that was public, this is the hearing.
The hearing, yes.
Good evening again. SK Bailey, South Boulevard in, let me say, the hamlet of South Nyack. Since the dissolution, we couldn't be happier to be a hamlet in Orangetown. Nothing has changed. As a matter of fact, lots of things are better, especially the roads.
Thank you.
Tree removal, those things we are very happy with.
Good to hear.
However, I'm appearing here to speak in opposition to the proposed amendment to Chapter 15-10D of the Town Code. Before raising the issues many of my neighbors and myself have with the proposed amendment, I want to state for the record that we are all in favor of prohibitions against burning garbage and refuse. However, the proposed amendment is extremely poorly drafted, draconian in some aspects, and lacks a rational basis in others. I do not intend here to take the time to amplify every single problem with this amendment. Instead, I will simply mention a few provisions which we think are a profound overreach of governmental action. Perhaps most symbolic of the problems we find with this amendment are items which show a ridiculous governmental intrusion into activities which the public at large is more than capable of handling without help. At 3B of the proposed amendment, we find the town dictating what fuels we may use for cooking. This provision would seem to allow cooking on wood chips, but not dried pieces of oak or maple. Code enforcement officers will determine whether we are cooking properly. You're kidding, right? Of course you're kidding. At 3C of the proposed amendment, we find that recreational fires, such as those in a portable fireplace or fire pit, can only take place at single-family houses and must be 15 feet from a deck or any combustible material. The proposed amendment is purported to be part and parcel of governmental promotion of safety considerations. However, New York state law, which by reference incorporates the International Residential Code, in Chapter 3, Section 304.4.3, specifically exempts both single-family and two-family houses from these distance requirements. Beyond this, the fact that Orangetown would effectively discriminate against the owners of otherwise identical two-family houses by preventing them from having a recreational fire is extremely troubling, since it's not based on any safety consideration. I do not intend to carry on citing different sections of the amendment as presented. Instead, I want to advise you that many of us who live in the eastern mountain sections of the town suffer greatly because of the fact that invasive trees have been protected by the villages. As a result, they colonized the mountainous area, killed the native trees, and created a jungle-like atmosphere in which insects thrive. Many of us could not use the outdoor portions of our properties in the evenings of warmer months if we did not have a fire going to keep the insects down. In closing, as someone who served as an elected official of the government of the former village of South Nyack for nearly 20 years, and is thus completely conversant with the process of legislating and running a government, I would like to suggest that the town appoint a committee made up solely of members of the public to evaluate and advise on this legislation. I would be willing to volunteer my time for such a committee, and I know many others who would likewise be inclined. Such a committee might also advise you on future legislation as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Someone else would like to?
Yes, sir. Sorry, should I say this before?
I actually I didn't read the language, but I just wanted to applaud the board. I actually had an architect come by my house and look at my backyard for a potential patio. They looked over and saw the fire pit and said, "Did you know that's illegal in Orangetown?" We were like, "We had no idea. Thank you for trying to address this and put this forward." I've not read it, so I don't know the comprehensiveness of it, but it sounds like you did a thorough job. Thanks for addressing it. There's probably a lot of people, as I was told by my architect, that are illegal in Orangetown, so thanks for trying to address it.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Thank
Let's go
you.
Iroquois Avenue.
Eileen? His name, did he speak the last time? Ray first got right.
I come forward with I do not like the smell of barbecues or things like that. It bothers my asthma severely. And I'm always afraid of fires. My property backs onto the Palisade Parkway, and I'm always afraid that, somebody will start a little speck and there'll be the land behind my house will go on fire, and it's not unrealistic today. You just have to see what's going on up in Canada, burning away. And so I guess I'll start out by saying I, too, am a little confused about this law. I think it's very convoluted. I think it could be somewhat either shortened or contained. At the beginning of it, on D, which 1D, clean wood, natural, seasoned, and dry wood, which has not been painted, varnished, or coated. I mean, who actually will regulate this? Because people can go around and pick up firewood from wherever and just burn it on their property. They feel it's their property. They can do whatever they wish. Open burning, the burning of materials wherein the products of combustion are emitted directly into the ambient air without passing through a stack of a chimney. That happens to be what affects my house. Somebody burned something near me, and where did it come to? I'm on a kind of a dip. It comes right into my house. I have to shut all the windows in the house because I cannot, for health reasons, absorb the smell of those fires. I'm a severe asthmatic. Also, when these fire pits are on a person's property, what is the limited proximity to a neighbor? In other words, can somebody put it to the side of the yard? This is their yard, but they put it over here and you have a neighbor over here. So the emitting of the fire is going to be not so much affecting them, but maybe a neighbor, and I don't see, perhaps it's somewhere here, where a person cannot put a pit within X amount of feet of an abutting neighbor. Hours of operation, I don't see that here. It's a lot to absorb. How many, what are the hours of operation? Are they from mid-afternoon till 8 at night or 9 at night? I don't think it's here, but perhaps that could be written into it somehow or another. The bonfires is really something that's so much about a bonfire. How many bonfires are in Orangetown?
You'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised.
Really?
The high schools, the veterans.
Well, they're contained. I mean, they're kind of, right? No,
Yeah, but they're
I
not
don't know.
allowed.
Pardon?
I mean,
Before this, they weren't
right
allowed.
now,
They had to get special
no,
permits.
they're not allowed to do it. It's not allowed under the code. That was part
Well,
of
I
the
hope
reason.
they get special permits, because I am so petrified of fire. Just one of those.
3C6
Just one of those
does
things I'm
talk about if
afraid
it
of.
is, if it's harmful to a neighbor.
I'm
There is
sorry?
something about neighbors, we can, if it's harmful to a neighboring residence.
I'm sorry, Teresa, I don't.
3C6.
3-6?
If it's causing a nuisance or harm to a neighboring residence or occupants or residents, that basically that they can refuse to let them limit or prohibit said fire. I would guess what that's meaning is if you call and it's a problem that allows them to tell the neighbor they have to stop.
And you can't have any structure within 5 feet of the property line anyways.
There's a lot here, there's a lot on this, there's quite a bit of do's and don'ts and
Well, again,
outdoor cooking.
we have, our current law says you can't do it at all. So when you want to say you can do it, this is what you end up, you got to look at every circumstance and make sure it's safe. I mean, can it be
So what,
tweaked? Maybe.
what circumstances require a person to get a permit? Does it, in other words, just for fire prevention purposes?
Yeah, I agree.
If you have a fire pit, do you have to get a permit for that, or that you can just put on your property without getting a permit?
Must be on the site where the fire's burning.
You don't need a permit.
You don't need a permit.
But a lot of people, Eileen, already have built-in ones in their patios, and they're all illegal. So this is basically helping the people with the illegal fire pits.
You can basically go to Lowe's, get the equipment, and get a ring, and do a fire pit in about 10 minutes.
I won't be doing that because I can't breathe to begin
Because
with.
that's how
half the
easy
time,
it is
so.
to do.
You
And
know,
those are not legal.
Tell by my voice that I have some issues right now. But anyway, I guess what I'm saying is that
Gotta tweak it.
I guess I'm talking for my own issue because I've seen fire and I'm concerned about if it's a very dry period.
That's why it's easier to say.
Are you allowed to still have a permit, to have this pit going? And, fire can start so easily and damage the homes that are around you. And, you drive around Orangetown, we have a lot of property up on the mountain. I think they had a fire up on the mountain not too long ago over here, and that was not too easy to put out. So I don't think most people in my neighborhood have these fire pits. But I know when someone burns something by me, and I have to close every single window in my home because I cannot smell the fire. It's a hazard. It's a health hazard for me. And I
You gotta
don't.
get Canada to put out those fires.
I know. I agree with you. That's why half my voice is the way it is today, because I was in an area where I was involved in all that air. But anyway, I don't know. To me, it's a very convoluted law. If you can reduce it or.
What's that? Okay.
Expand on making it a little bit easier. I don't know. It's like everything else. Everything you have to read 5 times to really absorb it. And
she's been pausing it.
And that's about it. Duration of the fire
Okay.
shall.
Thank you.
Anyway.
And I don't think, anybody else want to speak?
Anyone else?
Hours of operation. What is that? Did you?
Eileen, okay.
I don't know if my 5 minutes are up.
We're
but
going to
anyway.
discuss it because,
What about the hours of operation?
Eileen, we're going to discuss it. So I don't know if anybody.
I didn't see ours.
Anyone else? All right, motion to close the public comment on this.
Motion.
I mean, again, to reiterate what Jade and Teresa said, right now, there are no regulations. So anyone in Orangetown can get a fire and they're just doing it, and you're not allowed to do it. We're trying to come up with reasonable regulations so that people will operate in a safe manner. Right now, people are just doing it. You go into someone's backyard, I'd say about half of them have fire pits from Lowe's or Home Depot, and they're doing it, and there's no permitting or regulations. We're just have come across this, and we're trying to get some reasonable regulations. I don't think we're going to vote on this tonight because some good points are brought up tonight that we will address and try to come up with some reasonable answers to your questions tonight.
Just to elaborate on Tom's comments, I questioned this at first, but this isn't going to change it now. I don't think people or residents are going to go out and put fire pits in their backyard because we're changing a law. This just helps us regulate a little bit. I have a fire pit in my backyard, and there's grates on it because of, no, it's
Jane,
legal.
go get 'em, Jane.
It's legal.
It's not legal yet. We didn't vote on it.
No, it's for cooking purposes only. But
That's not legal.
But with that said, you could put this anywhere you want. I mean, people could put in fire pits near their house, 2 feet from their house, and no one's going to regulate it. So all this
Well,
is
actually, they can't because it's illegal.
correct.
Well, that's what he's trying to
Correct.
say.
Well, my point is, if we pass this, at least we have some sort of regulation where we can help and make it safer. People are doing it no matter what, and I don't think this law is going to change anything. I don't think people are going to run out and build fire pits because of this. So I think it's just another tool we have to regulate it, that's all, and make it safe.
Okay.
That's basically exactly what this is doing. Legalize it, give parameters for which everyone can enjoy them safely, and in reference to the comment of if it's very dry, in the past, the state has made it illegal to burn in certain timeframes when we're in a drought. So that is something that can happen, obviously, if we're in an extreme drought, that they prohibit any open burning. So, again, this is really meant for safety and to enjoyment of everyone's, properties.
Okay, so we should probably continue the public hearing. If we're going to make tweaks to it, then people will be able to speak on it again.
Yes, Joe, no one heard that.
Okay, hello. Go ahead.
As far as I think the size of the yard may be more important than whether it's a two-family house up in South Nyack or the hamlet of South Nyack. What I'm saying is that the size of the backyard, as opposed to whether it's two families, is probably more important.
As long as you keep the distance from the house, fire doesn't know whether
Right, it
it's a
does say
single
single
family or
family,
family
right.
house.
I agree.
Right.
I
Okay,
agree.
so we're going to continue it and tweak it, and then we'll bring it back to the public. Okay.
All right, no date.
Continue it to,
I would suggest that August 22nd, I think. You can make the tweaks.
All right.
Yeah, there's not many.
Okay, so-
Sounds good, brother.
okay, so can I get a motion to continue public hearing till August 22nd?
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Should we do lead agency, Rob, or?
You can.
Okay. Number 7, motion to designate lead agency with respect to the proposed local law under secret.
Moved.
Tom Devney moves, second.
Second.
Jerry Bottaro, in favor?
Aye.
You can do the negative declaration as well, so change the rules.
Okay, number 8, a motion to, what are we doing, a neg deck?
Seven. It's part of 7.
Oh,
It's all part.
8 is adopting the rule.
so we're moving, okay. So that's good.
We're good up until,
No, it's not 7. That's legally.
we're good up until 9.
Okay, up to 9. Okay, so then this is the withdrawal of the eminent domain determination and findings of fact with regard to H&A. Basically, we set out the whole reason why we're doing this. Really comes down to the fact that SL Green has acquired the property and we're working in good faith with them. So can I get a motion to withdraw the EDPL determinations and findings?
I just got a question. How much time do they have left if we don't withdraw?
Not a lot, because it's 30 days from when we adopted it before they have to challenge our public purpose use. So when did we adopt it? It's really not
They would have to file something.
within the next couple of weeks.
Sorry. They'd have to file something almost immediately. They asked us to hold off.
How
because
long do they want us to hold off?
It really is changing almost by the hour. We were notified a little earlier that Reveal, was prepared to go forward and that
Yes.
everybody's prepared to go forward SL Green, to reveal, so.
What do you think, how much time should we give them? Because if we're going to withdraw.
Well, I
this-
don't know, I think he said,
No.
I think we just withdraw them, we could always bring them back if we need to, or,
Yeah, I mean, the next meeting is August 22nd. I think a lot
We
will
had the
happen
90
between
days,
now and
that's what
then.
I'm saying. That's what we did it. We met the 90 days. But from when we approved it, the owner has 30 days to challenge the public purpose. They said it also might, even if we said, okay, we're not doing it, we may have lost our argument because they're going to go in there and fix it up and do whatever. And so everything's changed from when we voted on it, so.
Right, everything was based on H&A not having done
Right,
anything the
right.
last 4 or 5 years. And
Right.
now
So we
SL
can
Green
always bring it back.
has owned it for about a week,
Yeah.
so
I'll
they
make a
they may enter into an agreement before August 22nd.
Right, okay, so Paul Valentine moved it, second.
I'll second that.
Brian Donnie, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 10, right? Approve the Orangetown budget calendar.
Motion.
Ryan, move, second.
Second.
Tom Divany, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to change the police commission meeting from August 8th to August 22.
Motion.
Second. Jerry Vitale, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 12, set the date of August 22 at 6 PM for Deemee's budget presentation.
Motion.
Brian Donahue, second.
Second.
Jerry, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 13, set date of September 6, 2023 at 5:30 for town department heads' budget presentations.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 14, set date for regular town board meeting of September 12th at 7:05 for the special district budget presentations. Come on, Brian.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Speed things along.
Number 15, approve 2023 certificate of sewer registration to Gallet Inc.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 16, accept the retirement of Mary Ann Selmy from the police department. Motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 17, appoint Suzanne Deli Peasy, if I'm saying it right, to principal clerk typist in the police department.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Amend resolution number 501 to increase the PKF O'Connor Davies 2022 accounting service fee by $25,000.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 19, adopt the current base percentages and adjusted base proportions for the 2023 tax assessment roll. Motion?
Moved.
Tom Divany, move. Jerry Vitale, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Authorize the submission of an application to apply for EFC grant for the Tier 4 pumping station that Eamon loves to tell us about all the time. Motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I heard two moves coming from each
Yes.
side. Okay, on the audit?
Audit.
Okay, the audit for tonight's meeting consists of 3 warrants for a total of $1.5 million. As of interest, number 1, Gelagi Landon, $24,000 for golf cart leases. Number 6, Department of Civil Service, $923,000 for healthcare premiums. And number 7, Tilcon, $60,000 for highway materials. Any questions on the audit?
No.
Nope.
Motion to accept the audit?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Rob, do we have executive session?
Yeah, there were a couple things, but it's up to you if you want to go ahead and do it.
Okay, we'll do a quick one on the land, we're discussing it publicly, might affect the land values. Did I say that properly?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so we're going to have a
written
quick executive session. We are not going to vote on anything when we come out. We do have a couple of adjournments. William Buchan, resident of Pearl River, Peter Francis Fagan, resident of Blauvelt, and John Colmar, former Orangetown Town Supervisor and County Legislator. Can I get a motion?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.